main backdrop or the stage for the webinar is actually my desktop. Hence I have this Mythic mandate image there as introduction. In the introductions, I'll ask people to talk about who they are, maybe a little bit about their offering. Well, I am excited to be in process. This is an interesting dream, now reality, and I'm so thankful that you all have come to participate in this workshop with us. I wanted to take a moment to have our guest speaker, Catherine Walker, introduce herself. That's Catherine.
Hi. Well, it's an honor to be here today, Willi. Just so folks know a little about me, I've been a Daily Acts volunteer for about 4 years now and sustained myself as a copywriter, a permaculture garden designer, and a metaphysical consultant. I don't know if anyone's heard of Daily Acts, who's out there, but Daily Acts is an extraordinary community ecology nonprofit that inspires community-based sustainability through hands-on education. Education-wise, I have a BA in environmental management and am a certified permaculture designer through the Regenerative Design Institute of Bolinas. The metaphysical aspect of my work is called soul ecology. It's a practice of developing deep intuition with one's own soul journey by direct experience with nature and by extension with the cosmos.
My name is Willi Paul. I am a sustainability consultant in the Bay Area and also a writer of new mythology and proponent of alchemy's hitherto undiscovered. And that's one of the reasons why I'm doing this work, is to try to find new ways to bring people together and do work on a global scale. You guys have all sent in offerings. Let's go to David Metcalfe in Chicago. Hi, David.
Hey, how's it going?
I'm well, sir. I'm just delighted you could join us. Why don't you tell Jenny and the rest of us what's happening in this picture?
It's kind of one of the only natural areas that's around here. I live in Lisle, which is right outside of Naperville, so the suburb of Chicago, and we don't have much nature around. So as you can see, even the nature area that we have is still deeply embedded in the urban structure. What I was trying to express in this is a picture of the alchemical and planetary correspondences from a medieval manuscript of medicine. So it's kind of a picture of the idea of the alchemist being able to not own nature, but being given to participate in nature, which is something I think that we've lost.
David, what is there sort of a natural alchemy that you're talking about here?
The natural alchemy in that is understanding man is a natural object, man's relationship to nature, which in the picture there is actually brought to a very direct correspondences. So it's kind of calling up that idea that we're affected by nature, we affect nature. Here with the, electricity is the harnessing of nature, which, most people don't think of that when they turn on their computer, the fact that we're actually harnessing a natural energy. We're actually harnessing something that up till the, 1800s wasn't even conceivable. So that to me is, just speaks to that ability to retake that concept, draw it back to what it actually is, and try to come from that understanding.
What's sacred in your everyday life these days?
I try to live everything. Everything to me is a lesson. I try to embody that idea. So I do a lot of art, that's me, a sacred act of acting. I don't know how to describe it. I guess it's just connecting with those relationships, and being able to take what I see, digest that, put it back out through art, and then in that process also come to an understanding of it. So.
Let's look at Arielle's. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your offering?
And this was the chicks for the snow. So I was taking pictures, and they weren't too fond of the snow. So this one, she was flying, and she actually landed on my shoulder, but I got this picture like mid-flight. The chickens are out, they're doing their thing. Come springtime, they're going to be painted chicken tractors.
Tell me what you think is sacred about our animal husbandry or working with animals. What's sacred about it?
Just the idea of taking care of another living thing, and putting all the energy that you would care as if there's like another human, because they still have it. They're still sentient beings.
Beautiful. Okay, nice. Jason, let's watch part of that video.
Why grow homes? Because we can. Right now, America is in an unremitting state of trauma, and there's a cause for that. Right? We've got McPeople, McCars, McHouses. Right? As an architect, I have to confront something like this. So what's a technology that will allow us to make ginormous houses? Well, it's been around for 2,500 years. It's called pleaching, or grafting trees together, or grafting inosculate matter into one contiguous vascular system. And we do something different than what we did in the past.
Okay. What I promised Jason was that we would look at the first part of that. Jason, talk a little bit more about your interest in this green housing, green building.
Our natural resources are extremely strained. A lot of it due to construction and refabrication of things that we need to live and shelter us. And I thought that this was an extremely interesting idea regarding using a natural and renewable method to actually construct our homes rather than have to take down existing trees.
Jason, same kind of question. What is your kind of sense of the sacred in this green building process?
In this example, I feel that sacred attributes come from using natural means to provide for our needs that we usually seem to resort to sacrificing the natural to attain. And trees have always been sacred icons for a very long time as well.
Trees as sacred icons. That's very interesting, sir. Myra, tell us a little bit about the energy that went into that offering.
It's a blue lotus, and it is in Egypt, and it's in a lily pad near the lotus. The lotus emerges from the mud. It spurred this writing that no matter what we see about us, that there is something, there is a seed, there is a memory from where we come. When I look around, there is every sense that there is something forgotten. I wanted to share something that called us into the mode of remembering and recovery.
And tell us, what's sort of an everyday idea about what's sacred for you as you process your day and night?
I can tell you that there is a constant, steady stream of inspiration from Earth itself. I have been working in single fashion with the element, understanding myself through the elements, through fire, through water, through earth, air, and space. Space is just an incredible learning environment. Understanding how these environments move within me and move outside, and the relationship between them.
Very nice, thank you. Enjoy Catherine. We'll put her on the webcam briefly.
I just wanted to say every one of you has done an extraordinary job of really speaking to your own form of soul ecology. And when I start to talk about it, you'll recognize what it is each of you are doing to tune in to the natural world. Arielle with the birds, the chickens. David with the art. Jason with his cool ideas, and Myra with the lotus and her connection to the earth. You're all actually doing it, and the truth is, we're all doing it together. It's kind of a birthing process. Each of us gets to be the midwife in bringing our own true essence through with using the natural world as a vehicle for doing that. Specifically about soul ecology, I just wanted to say sort of where it's coming from, and that there's really 3 phases to the overall process. And these 3 phases can take an entire lifetime, actually. But they do occur sequentially, and they also occur in repeated layers. So the 3 main things to recognize are that it begins with recognizing what passes as normal life today, and how that is really a massive delusion that's full of cracks in the mirror. It's giving way to humanity's next evolutionary phase, which all of us are in. The second part is that each of us individually develops an integrated consciousness to see and experience life as a dynamic whole. And every one of you are doing that. The third part is, and Elias Lonsdale said this, so I'm going to quote him, let the pressure of current intensities strip away your attachment to a dying world system and redirect your life force into the land of the living. So to sum it up, the events of this time we're living in on global and individual levels is a kind of sacred fire that burns everything but love and accepts no substitutes. So the work of soul ecology came out of my own 35-year-long journaling practice, coupled with my own core experiential premise that each of us is essentially a spiritual being living out a human life. Individual soul work of this nature is also deeply connected with permaculture. Permaculture is a whole systems design science that reflects a holistic worldview. Permaculture practices themselves can be found throughout the world's spiritual philosophies, and they're built on 3 core principles: care of the earth, care of people, and fair trade. So imagine just living fully integrated with nature's very own self-sustaining design systems. Imagine living in communities that have evolved to mimic the patterns and interrelationships of nature, kind of like that housing structure that we looked at. You know, we're really beginning to make the quantum leap. If we truly lived into our wholeness and intrinsic interconnectedness with the earth, from a permaculture perspective, we'd be actively cultivating joyful and meaningful lives and extending new life through entire communities. So from local sustainable communities and villages, we can then evolve sustainable cultures. We talked about creativity and art. There were some folks that brought in art. Cultural creatives and those of us who can do and think outside of the box really embrace permaculture as a holistic art. It's one that's evolved out of the science of nature herself. And so we're really beginning to create an evolutionary paradigm shift in human thinking. The law of evolution is really kicking us in the bum, reminding us that some things have to die before the new can be born. The old way refers to nature as natural resources and things the earth offers to humanity for us to take. And we can only do that so long before we suffer the consequences of such limited worldviews. So, moving into the activity of tuning into our soul's journey through this practice of soul ecology, it really just is nothing more. It's as simple as simply taking ourselves out into nature without technological distraction so we can profoundly connect ourselves with the natural world. And of course, this is where all life as we know it comes from. So this single fact that all of life as we know it comes from the natural world is actually the key to link to comprehending and understanding our connection with her. So this is the first step. If we individually go out in nature in the way I described, unencumbered by the distractions of technology, and find a comfortable spot on the ground to lie or sit for at least a half an hour, with an hour being preferable, one experiences firsthand the simple, fresh, expansive, and regenerative powers of the earth, and at the same time, the abundantly dynamic life force of nature taking place all around. This experience should be repeated daily wherever possible. One is asked to stand in or be present in the intention of flow, the allowing of flow. This aspect of flow was a profound recognition point of this work. It began in 1989 when I was pregnant with my daughter Marlena. When it came to naming the common denominator of this sublime, tender, powerful experience of full emptiness that I was having, it became apparent that these experiences were transcending the cause and effect dualistic plane of consciousness that us humans typically operate in. And yet in this full emptiness, I experienced complete aliveness and a deep sense of effortless interconnection with life. And what I discovered is that aliveness exists in the space between forms. This means that all the space inherent in a given form is actually life force. And this same life force is also ever present throughout the world of nature. Quite literally, the invisible pulse of life that scientists point to the existence of in the cosmos is here on Earth throughout the web of life and bodies of nature. Everything in nature operates on flow, and it's often experienced as a deep and expansive sense of resonance and harmony. The cool thing about flow is that it neutralizes suffering. It's really quite miraculous. And this is where we practice noticing. So when you go to sleep each night after being out in nature in this way, notice how you feel, what the natural world is revealing to you. Notice how you resonate with the world around you. Notice how you sleep and what you dream. Soul ecology practices actually initiate one in this awakened release. And there's 33 soul ecology practices in all, and the one I shared today is the first and the most basic. Anyone who wants to share their feedback, absolutely, let's do that.
I have been informed so much by how well plants themselves are stronger and have more vitality when they are in community themselves. They teach us a great deal. This community aspect of their aliveness also includes their health, their well-being. When we are lucky enough to witness how well they do in community, we learn a lot about perhaps how we can experience more harmony living in community.
And it's this amazing interconnected network of life that's connecting with itself to feed, to communicate, to sense, to perceive. Nature is actually very social. An ecosystem is the natural social community of nature on a slightly bigger scale.
You don't need to be controlling it. You know, I've read stuff about permaculture gardens and permaculture farms where it requires a lot less work to allow nature to do what it does and to exist with that. In permaculture, you know, you exist within your food source. You know, you exist within that. The animals that are around exist within that. You work with that, and then you're not there, you know, tilling and fighting against nature to have that grow. It's working itself. It's doing it by itself, and you're simply there as kind of like a guide to that. You know, I think that helps. That helps with that idea of becoming part of nature, recognizing that natural path for the person, as well as helping, you know, nature. It's that in alchemy, there's the idea of man as an assistant to nature. Michael Mayer, who was an alchemist in the 1400s, talked about the idea of man completing nature, you know, and not in the sense of dominion or overcoming nature, but assisting nature in its work. So, you know, I think permaculture and a permaculture in terms of food growth and that you become an assistant to that.
We're all completely capable of creating and sustaining new realities. Something very wonderful is blossoming within each of us. We are actually becoming released and liberated from this whole slick modern conundrum, and each of us is coming through this high-pressure cervix of our time into a lightness, a brightness, a spaciousness that allows each of us to breathe freely into what we are to become, which really is an integral part of the earth, not separate from her.
I really appreciate your sharing today, and I hope you have a great rest of the day. For Catherine and Jenny, see ya. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
That's it.